Lee Wern Yiing has urged the government to review its decision on the disclosure of Azam Baki's shareholding records. Meanwhile, a Parti Bersama Malaysia candidate has accused DAP of double standards over its remarks on the use of government resources during polls. Stay tuned for this and more on KiniNews. Bagan MP Lee Wern Yiing has expressed disappointment over the government's position that records of former MACC Chief Commissioner Azam Baki's shareholdings are not public documents and therefore cannot be disclosed. He said the stance contradicts the principles of transparency, public accountability and responsibility. Lim added that it also raised questions about the government's commitment to combating corruption regardless of who is involved. He argued that there is no justification to withhold such information or refused to make such shareholding records public, as the matter is of public interest and concerns the integrity of the country's top anti-corruption officer. With this, he urged the government to review its decision not to make the shareholding records public. He added that the government should also disclose what, if any, appropriate action has been taken against Azam. Earlier, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Azalina Othman Said, said records relating to Azam's share ownership are not public documents and cannot be disclosed. She said this in a written parliamentary reply to a question from Petaling Jaya MP Lee Chung. Azalina said the records form part of investigation documents, while personal information and asset declarations are protected by law. However, she said the government assures that all relevant aspects, including share ownership and compliance with the applicable regulations, have been examined during the investigation, and appropriate action has been taken based on the committee's findings. She added that any public announcements on the matter would be made by the Chief Secretary to the government's office. In a separate written reply to Bagan MP Lee Wern Yiing, Azalina also addressed calls for a Royal Commission of Inquiry into allegations of a corporate mafia. She said any decision would depend on the legal process and the findings of ongoing investigations. Azalina added that the government remained open to establishing an RCI or any other appropriate mechanism if deemed necessary in the public interest. She also said the establishment of an RCI is governed by the provisions of the Commissions of Inquiry Act 1950. According to Azalina, the process begins with the lead ministry preparing a cabinet memorandum on a matter of significant public interest. Once the cabinet approves the proposal, the Prime Minister submits it to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong for consideration. Parti Bersama Malaysia's Johor Jaya candidate Lau Yi Leong has accused his DAP rival Lee Wern Yiing and the party of hypocrisy, claiming they have taken a selective stance on the use of government resources during the Johor state election. He was responding to a joint press conference by Lee and DAP's Petaling candidate Alan T, where they alleged that caretaker Menteri Besar On Hafiz Ghazi had misused an Inland Revenue Board hall for campaign activities. In a statement, Lau argued that while criticizing BN, Lee had conveniently overlooked the actions of Housing and Local Government Minister Nga Kor Meng, who, he claimed, announced a 1 million ringgit allocation to upgrade morning markets just a day before nomination day. He described this as a clear double standard, saying Lee condemned the use of an IRB hall by BN for campaigning but raised no objection when a DAP minister announced a federal allocation. He claimed that, in DAP's dictionary, it appears that whether something amounts to an abuse of public assets is measured not by the act itself, but by who commits it. Lau noted that he had previously issued a statement stating that such conduct is suspected of contravening Section 10(a) of the Elections Offences Act 1954, but no substantive response had been forthcoming. He maintained that the use of government facilities or public allocations to benefit election candidates undermine the democratic process, regardless of who is responsible, and urged the authorities to investigate the matter. From now on, you can also listen to KiniNews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Scan the QR code on the screen to follow us. The Johor state election campaign is entering a crucial stage, and one of the key battlegrounds to watch is Bukit Kapong, a marginal seat under the Pago parliamentary constituency. The three-corner contest here is shaping up to be a major test for Bersatu, as it seeks to defend one of the seats in its Pago stronghold. A defeat in Bukit Kapong would not only cost the party a state seat, but could also signal that its influence in an area closely associated with Bersatu President Muhyiddin Yassin Yiing is beginning to weaken. But beyond the contest between political parties, what is really driving voters in Bukit Kapong? Are they still voting along party lines, or will the candidates themselves make the difference this time? Another question looming over the race is where PAS supporters will cast their votes. Although PAS has declared its support for Barisan Nasional candidates in seats not contested by Perikatan Nasional, its relationship with Bersatu following the split between the two parties has remained a talking point throughout the campaign. To find out what voters are saying, what issues matter most to them, and how this closely watched contest could shape the outcome of the Johor election, head to KiniTV's YouTube channel or click the link at the end of this video. Meanwhile, Bersatu President Muhyiddin Yassin has conceded that Perikatan Nasional may fall short of forming the Johor government. However, he said the coalition aims to secure enough seats to become an effective check on the administration, even if it does not take power. According to The Star, he said PN wants to win sufficient seats to hold the state government accountable, arguing that a sizable opposition bloc is essential to ensure proper checks and balances in the state assembly. He said the state government cannot act as it pleases, adding that it must explain how Johor's funds are spent and be held accountable in the assembly. He added that PN's role would become even more important if a government with a large mandate failed to deliver on its promises. He said although PN is contesting fewer seats than other parties and may not be able to form the government, the coalition still needs sufficient strength to serve as an effective opposition. DAP Secretary General Anthony Loke has stressed that government policies and decisions at both the federal and Negeri Sembilan levels are made collectively through discussions and consensus among component parties rather than being dictated by any single party. He said claims that the government was being dictated to by DAP were a tired narrative repeatedly used to discredit Pakatan Harapan. According to Bersama, Loke said all component parties in the federal government, including DAP, UMNO and PKR, are given the opportunity to express their views before any decision is finalized by Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. He also questioned whether there was really no other excuse besides blaming DAP. He said the current political cooperation allows room for discussion, and as a component party and member of the administration, DAP naturally puts forward its views. He added that UMNO and PKR also present their views, but in the end, it is the Prime Minister who makes the final decision, not any single party. Loke said the same practice is adopted in Negeri Sembilan, where Menteri Besar Aminuddin Harun seeks the views of all component parties before making any decision. He also dismissed claims that the Malays were under threat in Negeri Sembilan, noting that the state continues to be led by a Malay Menteri Besar, while government policies and programs safeguard the interests of all. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to kinitv.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.